What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so this is something that my brother Ticket TV talks about quite a bit, and that is if David Stern was the commissioner today, the NBA would be in a far better place than it has become under the regime of Adam Silver. And I think anybody would agree with that. That's reasonable. And it's not overtly biased toward or for, I should say, certain players or really the type of people you really shouldn't have these conversations with. The NBA is not in a good place at all. But I would argue this. I would argue that the NBA would be in a much better place if David Stern was simply alive. Now, of course, David Stern, according to reports, according to the record, passed away suddenly. Well, actually, I can't say that. He suffered, I think it was a stroke, a hemorrhagic stroke, brain bleed while at a restaurant. I think it was December of 2019. I believe he was 77 years old at the time. I think he never regained consciousness. I think he passed away New Year's Day 2020 at the age of 77. He had been the commissioner of the NBA from 1984 through 2014. And I think you can make a strong argument that although there were some things about David Stern I did not like. For instance, I did not like the strictness when it came to the dress code. I did not like the way that the NBA treated Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf. I did not like the blackballing of Craig Hodges. I did not like the way that players, in particular the black players, were treated as criminals for having an addiction to drugs, when in reality they should have been treated more like victims of the cocaine epidemic and treated more for their drug dependency than as criminals. I thought that were some things that should have been addressed and changed. But at the same time, not making excuses for David Stern, we were in a much more conservative era, okay? But we haven't had studies or the cultural sensitivity that we have today. But aside from those things, right, all in all, no one can really seriously argue that David Stern was not the most successful commissioner in the history of the NBA by far. And not only that, you can make an argument that David Stern was the most successful commissioner in the history of North American sports. He took what had been rising under Pat O'Brien. Yes, his name, right? Lawrence O'Brien, excuse me. Would have been rising under Lawrence O'Brien and took over as commissioner, and with the help of Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, all the great players, obviously. But the vision of David Stern as far as helping to push the league to what he thought it could be, pushed it to a global level, especially in the 90s and 80s and into the 2000s, that we had never seen or even thought the NBA would be before. Now, I think even with David Stern out of power, if he was still alive, because remember, when he retired, he retained the title Commissioner Emeritus, which is basically, it was an honorary title, but means commissioner for perpetuity. Like that he would still be considered a commissioner. Honorary title, but his influence was still there. His voice was still there. I don't think that, obviously, well, look, because Adam Silver took over, he wasn't going to voice any opposition to Adam Silver because that would be considered disrespectful, and insubordinate because he was no longer the commissioner. But I have no doubt in my mind that there was still communication between David Stern and Adam Silver, especially if Adam Silver called upon him as far as his opinion of certain things. And it's just amazing to me that people don't notice or connected to that. It seems like ever since the death of David Stern and the demise of Kobe Bryant, which ironically only occurred 25 days apart from each other, we've seen a rapid ascend of a certain balding Akron, Ohio man with the Abe Lincoln beard. He's taken over the league, and the NBA has completely since then devolved into this agenda pushing, pandering, just a horrible product as far as the way the game is played, the lack of professionalism, which Isaiah Thomas just pointed out. The way the game, I think I already talked about this, the way the game is played, the lack of enthusiasm from the players. These players obviously hate the fans. They can't really hide it anymore. And, the game is just not in a good place, man. It's not. And that's why the NBA's ratings are plummeting and they're hemorrhaging fans. And I think if David Stern was still alive, he would have had access to Adam Silver's ear. I think that's the one guy Adam Silver would listen to. Yeah, remember, David Stern was his boss, his mentor. Adam Silver was his protege. Adam Silver was a deputy commissioner for 22 years before he took over. 22 years, from 1992 to 2014. David Stern is the one guy he would respect. And see, David Stern loved the NBA. David Stern played basketball as a kid. Adam Silver was a marketing guy. He's marketing. That's why we sell these gimmicks. David Stern, if he had his ear to Adam Silver, he would tell him no. He would tell him, look, if I were you, all these gimmicks, this end season, that's not what it is. We have to find a balance. Okay, look, the analytics is saying one thing about three-point shot, but we cannot take out the center position from the NBA. We have to find a balance here. Look, if anything, I wouldn't be surprised if David Stern said, let's reward post-play. An and one in the post is 3 points now. And if he scores on the foul, that's 4 points. That encourages post play. Let's bring the center position back. Let's listen to what these guys are saying. Now, some of us might be a little bit wacky, our bias in our thoughts, absolutely. But there's something there. We've been warning the NBA collectively, social media. We've been warning the NBA for years. They didn't want to hear. They didn't want to listen to us. They ignored us, said we were just talking trash. We're just stuck in the 90s. And now the numbers show what we've been warning for years, right? I think David Stern would tell him, too, look, you're the commissioner. Okay? You represent the thoughts and represent the policies and the will and direction of the owners. Okay? Now, you should be fair to the players, but the players have their player union and their representatives. But you're supposed to be above all of this, right? And what's best for the league. Adam Silver just comes across to me, man, as a powerless puppet. I'm all for player empowerment, but there's a limit to that. And the limit is I want what's best for me as a fan. To hell with the players after that point. You know what I'm saying? After that, to hell with that. Work on the product first. And yes, work on the professionalism. And I'm telling you something. I think if David Stern was alive and he was like pretty much like a consigliere to Adam Silver, especially as the things have gone downhill, he probably would have implored Adam Silver and the NBA to move away from talking about LeBron James 24/7. If anything, pressure this motherfucker to leave the NBA, or guess what? Your little protection you think that you're paying for, you know what I'm saying? This little protection that you think you're getting because you represent certain groups' interests, that's going to be removed. And we're going to put all of it out there. Get the hell up out of our league and let these stars shine. But, that's wishful thinking. David Stern is no longer here. Kobe Bryant is no longer here. Everybody's paid and bought for. The people in the media that would have voiced their concerns have been forced out. And what's left are just a bunch of hype men, yes, the boss men, and, buck dancers. So it is what it is, man. They can say we're stuck in the past. We don't want anybody to be better than Michael Jordan. Look, if I see a guy that legitimately surpasses Michael Jordan, I'll be the first one to admit it. But you can't sit here and try to sell me shit and make me think that, it's sugar. I'm sorry. On top of the fact that, the NBA can try to cover it all they want to, but there's going to be a scandal involved in this guy's career, and, certain things that he may have been taken advantage of to boost his performances, in a synthetic and artificial manner. That's going to happen. Anyway, that's all I got to say about it. Tell me what you guys think.